Thank you for everyone being here. I just want to start with the instructions that's being shared with you guys. The session will be recorded, so please indicate in the chat if you do not wish to be recorded. And there is an SSL interpreter, so if you need the sign language, so you can just pin Andries or SSL interpreter. Anéll Koekemoer will present in South African Sign Language, and as soon as she starts, you can pin her or you can stay on the gallery view. And please mute yourself so that we can go about the presentation smoothly. And if you have any questions, your question can be emailed to me at pa.support@nid.org.za. We will not have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation due to time, but yeah, so welcome everyone. And then I will just give this Zoom stage to Anéll. She is a mother of two beautiful children, married to Anéll Koekemoer, also deaf, and she has a BA in Health Sciences and Social Services. So we thank her for her time, and we're looking forward to her presentation this morning. Thank you.
Just to make sure everything's okay. Okay, thank you so much. It's a big privilege for me to talk about mental health. It's something I'm really excited about, and I know there are many deaf people who need more information about this. So I'm really excited to talk about mental health. Mental health is something that affects each and every one of us. So, Lynette, if you will help me to continue with the PowerPoint. So, mental health is really important. It's something that you remember about your experiences. Your five senses, your taste, your sight, your hearing, your touch, everything is part of your experiences. All of these experiences get embedded in your mind, and your mind is very powerful. So your taste, your smell, these are important. So for example, you see something, you hear something, you see someone talk about you, you hear someone talk about you. What do you think? It's easy to have negative thoughts about this. The thoughts are incredibly important. So for example, you see someone talk about you. Your first instinct is to say, someone is talking bad about me. But if you smell a burning smoke, then you go and you turn off the stove, which is a good thing. So to illustrate, if you see someone who is talking about you, you have to identify how you feel. These thoughts that you get, they influence your emotions. So this is an example. The blue coloring influenced the whole glass. So the negative thoughts that you have influence your whole life. So you can feel really sad. And if you keep on seeing this, and you see someone talk about you, or your boss or manager tells you you're stupid, more negative thoughts. And these all add up. All of these thoughts that are negative, they have an influence on your emotions. So you start to feel really bad. You start to believe what these people tell you. No one believes you. No one likes you. And this becomes a new habit of yours. This becomes your new behavior. But it's not true, but it's true for you. So as this continues, your self-esteem gets lower and lower. Your boss is rude to you. You finish school. You maybe go to university. And then you start having good experiences. And you have positive thoughts. The positive thoughts also have an impact on your emotions. How can you change your emotions? Your thoughts is important. You have to think of yourself as confident. You have to think of your friends. You have to think that you can. You have to think that you are able. I can maybe go to a doctor. I can maybe go for therapy. Maybe you remember that your parents supported you. And you have to focus in on those good memories. You can talk with people, talk with your friends, talk with a therapist, a counselor, a doctor. Be open with what you feel and what you think. And see what happens. So this represents all of the positive things that we have and which influences your mental health in a good way. When you have these negative thoughts and bad feelings, help is important. You become a happy person. There we go. So there are two kinds of deaf people that we have. We generally categorize them as deaf people who went to a mainstream school. Most of the deaf people are using a spoken language that they feel comfortable with. They don't really socialize with the deaf community. The other group, they are signing deaf people. They have deaf friends involved in the deaf community. These are the two categories. And we all have barriers. We know that deaf people are more susceptible to mental health illness. So deaf people really enjoyed hearing about other people talking to someone else over the phone. Now imagine if you talk over the phone, but then there's static and you can't understand what they're saying. This is what deaf people experience every single day. And now we have masks that make it even worse. A deaf person goes to the hospital. You see maybe 3 queues. Okay, now which one? Now I have to go and ask someone for help. Now I'm a bit shy. I take off my hearing aid. They don't know I'm deaf. So then I go to that queue. Maybe that's the right one. But then you see the facial expression of the person you ask. They don't look very happy. You try and write down. No, it's the wrong queue. Okay, then you have to go to the other one and start all from the start. And all of this adds up. Then you start thinking about all kinds of aspects of your life. This increases anxiety, this increases stress, has a really bad impact on your mental health. Treatment and evaluating a person. So, for example, a deaf person realizes that they need help and sit with a psychologist. And they try and explain themselves, and they're excited, sharing about their experiences. So they start signing a bit more expressively. They start using their voice a bit more expressively. Now the hearing psychologist says, all right, now this and that is wrong with you. But it's not the proper diagnosis. because the psychologist may not be aware of how deaf people act in everyday life. If you ask a doctor and you talk about maybe depression, you have varying levels of depression. So if you have suicidal thoughts, if you have other kinds of thoughts, and you have to share that with a doctor, communication is a challenge. And a deaf person has to be patient, but if you have to do it over and over and over again, this may be that the doctor gives an incorrect diagnosis. A deaf person looks for an interpreter to help with the diagnosis. You as a deaf person talks about your problems and you tell the interpreter, and the interpreter tells the doctor. So then it goes, but eventually the interpreter and the doctor starts talking to each other. You as a deaf person, what are they talking about? What's happening now? Where is your trust in the interpreter? If you have a deaf person and maybe you bring your family along and the doctor asks really private and personal questions, maybe some of your family members are part of the problem. Will you really share? Or no, you probably won't. So how can a deaf person really find help? Maybe you go for counseling, for some advice, and there's an interpreter, and the doctor asks, how do you sleep? And then you answer, well, I have a bed, and the doctor asks, how do you eat? And then you say, you know, I eat and I use utensils and I use cutlery, but that's not what they mean. The doctor means, are you eating enough? Are you eating well? So you have to have an understanding of what deaf people's lives are like. How does it make you feel? You can feel sad, you can feel angry. It's very, very challenging. Your workplace, the people that you socialize with, is very important for your mental health. As a deaf person, if you are isolated, it's easy to feel alone, and that impacts your mental health negatively. Say, for example, you are sick, you go to the doctor and you get medicine, and you feel better. Now, you are mentally sick. You're confused about life, you can't think clearly, you are avoiding family and friends, and maybe people don't have patience with you. We need more deaf people to talk about their stories. This will help us to understand what mental health is. We don't need to hide this. Please, we need to share our stories. We need to make others more aware of what we need. This all boils down to mental health services and access. We need South African Sign Language and we need access to that. Don't make that an excuse, however, to not talk about your mental health and keep that to yourself. Help is available. Go and find it. If you're in Worcester, you can contact the NID, they can refer you, you can find help. Thank you so much for watching. Please talk about your emotions and share. So, thank you. I hope everyone understands that mental health is important, that we all have a role to help our friends and our family. So please share.
Thank you, Anéll. Wow, that was amazing. The information that you shared with us was very valuable. And it's important to have positive thoughts and positive influences, because that will help you to have a positive mindset and therefore help your mental health. And it's amazing to hear you as a deaf person giving that instruction to talk about your feelings and not use SSL as an excuse because you can't communicate with the hearing public or the professional people out there. So yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and your effort. And thank you to everyone who listened in and came onto the Zoom. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and be safe.